Opening scene, haunted by the past. The film opens with Hugh Glass, years after Fitzgerald's death. He's older, heavily scarred, and living as a nomadic trapper. The camera lingers on his face as he wakes from a violent nightmare of the bear attack, Hawk's murder, and Fitzgerald's betrayal. These dreams bleed into reality. He often wakes, swinging his knife at shadows. His survival feels like a curse. He walks alone in silence, and the soundscape emphasizes the howling wind and creaking forests, echoing his loneliness. Glass makes his way to a frontier settlement on the edge of Native American lands. The settlement is a harsh, muddy outpost filled with trappers, merchants, and military patrols. Civilization is expanding into the wilderness, but Glass doesn't fit. Locals whisper his name with a mix of awe and fear. He's the man who came back from the dead. Some treat him like a legend, others like a ghost. He takes work as a wilderness guide, but his inability to connect to others highlights his alienation. Around campfires, soldiers and traders talk about taming the land and driving tribes west. The U.S. military builds outposts, while fur companies push for profit. Violence looms. Tribes unite to resist, while militias plot attacks. Glass listens silently, but inside he burns. He knows both sides, the cruelty of settlers and the humanity of the tribes. This foreshadows the central conflict, not just man versus nature, but man versus man for dominion over nature. We meet the antagonist, Silas McGraw, a fur baron who thrives on chaos. Unlike Fitzgerald, McGraw is no mere survivor. He's a strategist. He commands armed men, manipulates rival tribes with bribes, and sells captives into slavery. He sees the wilderness not as a challenge, but as something to conquer and consume. His operations leave burned villages, dead animals, and broken treaties in his wake. McGraw becomes Glass's new demon, a darker mirror of greed and survival gone rotten. Glass, isolated in his grief, starts seeing visions of Hawk. Sometimes Hawk appears as a child, sometimes as a young man. He warns Glass not to repeat the path of vengeance. These visions aren't peaceful. They're confusing, fragmented, sometimes accusatory. Hawk's voice echoes, "You survived, but what did you survive for?" This drives Glass's inner conflict. His hallucinations blur with reality, much like his visions of his wife in the first film. McGraw's men massacre a small Iroquois village at dawn. The camera depicts chaos, burning huts, screams, and the slaughter of innocents. Women and children are captured for labor and trade. Glass, guiding trappers nearby, stumbles into the aftermath. He fights McGraw's men, but is outnumbered. Nearly killed, he hides beneath corpses to survive, mirroring his old bear wound suffering. As he crawls away, bloody and broken, his resolve returns. He will not let another Hawk die under his watch. Glass meets Nakoni, a warrior who lost his wife and daughter in the raid. Nakoni despises white men, but recognizes Glass's scars and survival instincts. At first, their alliance is cold. Nakoni mocks Glass for being a ghost wandering without a tribe. Yet their shared grief binds them. Glass offers to help rescue the captives, and Nakoni, seeing his sincerity, reluctantly agrees. Their relationship begins as wary pragmatism, later growing into deep brotherhood. The men trek across hostile terrain, icy rivers that nearly drown them, snowstorms that force them to eat bark and raw fish, mountain ridges crawling with cougars. Cinematography lingers on their suffering, frostbite, bloodied feet, starvation. Despite the pain, they learn from each other. Nakoni teaches Glass tribal tracking methods, while Glass teaches survival tricks from his trapper life. Slowly, mutual respect builds, bridging cultural gaps. One night, Glass and Nakoni stumble upon wolves circling a bison herd. Hungry themselves, they try to scavenge meat from the carcass of a fallen bison. The wolves attack. In a savage sequence, the men fight tooth and claw, mirroring Glass's bear battle in the first film. Bloodied but victorious, they claim the carcass. This sequence symbolizes the primal law of nature. Survival is earned, not taken. It parallels their struggle against McGraw's predatory greed. Exhausted, they encounter a shaman from a Lakota tribe who survived McGraw's raids. He treats their wounds with herbs and warns Glass. The land remembers. Spirits linger. You cannot feed vengeance, or it will consume your son's soul forever. Glass is shaken. The shaman suggests Hawk's spirit is trapped between worlds because Glass refuses to let go. The spiritual message deepens Glass's dilemma: vengeance or redemption. Their journey leads to McGraw's massive fort, built from stolen timber and guarded by dozens of armed men. Inside, indigenous captives labor under chains. The fort is a symbol of civilization's brutality, a place where nature is stripped, people enslaved, and greed worshipped. Glass and Nakoni realize a frontal assault is impossible. They must be shadows in the dark. Glass and Nakoni begin striking at night. They free small groups of captives, poison food stores, and destroy traps. They fight with cunning rather than force, using fire, noise, and wilderness tricks to terrify McGraw's men. The freed prisoners grow into a resistance. McGraw, enraged, vows to personally capture Glass, recognizing him as the ghost undermining his empire. Among the freed is a white trapper who seems loyal but secretly admires McGraw's wealth. He betrays the resistance by revealing their hideout. A brutal ambush follows. Many prisoners are slaughtered. Nakoni is captured, and Glass is gravely injured but escapes. Alone again, Glass confronts his failure. Hawk's voice screams in his head, "You cannot save them if you only seek revenge." Despite his wounds, Glass prepares for one last assault. He sneaks into the fort, crawling through mud and sewage tunnels. This echoes his earlier survival in the Revenant, but now his mission is not for himself. It's for Nakoni and the captives. Inside the fort, he silently eliminates guards with a knife and bow, driven by sheer will. Each kill is personal, savage, yet restrained. Glass is no longer killing out of vengeance, but necessity. Glass sets fire to the fort, igniting chaos. Prisoners rise up, using stolen weapons against their captors. Smoke fills the screen as arrows fly and guns blaze. Nature itself seems to strike back. Fire, smoke, and collapsing would turn the fort into hell on earth. In the chaos, Glass finds Nakoni, freeing him. Together, they fight side by side, symbolizing their unity. Glass finally confronts McGraw amid the burning fort. Their fight is brutal, raw, and personal. McGraw mocks Glass's obsession with Hawk, claiming the wilderness belongs to men like him. The two brawl with knives, fists, and fire all around them. Glass gains the upper hand, pressing a knife to McGraw's throat. He flashes back to Fitzgerald. The same choice, kill or let go. This time, Glass chooses differently. Glass drops his blade and leaves McGraw alive. Instead of delivering vengeance, he lets the captives decide McGraw's fate. They surround him, enraged, as the fort burns. The camera lingers on McGraw's terrified face before fading out. His death is certain, but not by Glass's hand. Glass has broken free of his cycle of revenge. With McGraw's empire destroyed, Nakoni reunites with surviving family. In a moving farewell, he calls Glass a brother and tells him Hawk's spirit will now rest. They embrace, then part ways, Nakoni returning to rebuild with his people, Glass to wander once more. Their parting is bittersweet, but hopeful, symbolizing respect and reconciliation between cultures. Glass, weakened and alone, stumbles into the snow-covered mountains. Exhaustion overtakes him. He collapses and sees Hawk standing before him. Unlike the earlier visions of pain, Hawk is now peaceful, smiling, free. He places a hand on Glass's shoulder, and for the first time, Glass smiles faintly. The vision fades, leaving Glass lying in silence, but finally at peace. The final scene mirrors the first film's ending. Glass rises, scarred but serene, and walks into the vast white wilderness. The camera lingers on his figure growing smaller against endless snow, mountains, and sky. The message is clear. Civilization and greed will pass, but nature remains eternal, and Glass has finally become part of it.